Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday. This is your drive home on KOAN and KVNT, the Glen Biegel Show. Bonnie Cameron on the other side of the glass, and I'd love to talk to you. Mayor's race in the news once again, and somebody wrote up, it's almost like they were listening to the program. Very similar. Name is Dan Bonney, and he has written an article that I need to cover. Also, a lot of budget talk going on out there. I must have. I've never heard a governor with a list of must-haves that implement Obamacare. I mean, do we know this going in? I guess we did. I mean, we never talked about it this way. we had talking about the expansion of Medicaid, but we never talked about that. That was the implementation of a key part of Obamacare. We never talked about that. And a huge gas line discussion. Man, I love Persily. I've always despised him as a writer. You know, he used to run the editorial page on the Alaska Daily News, when it back before it was the Alaska Dispatch News or Anchorage Daily News. And he was always a left-winger, and he was really kind of, I don't know, I took him as arrogant. You know, maybe that's not a fair thing to say, but whenever I would talk to him, and I've had a couple of conversations, just sort of off the cuff kind of things. Normally, I don't ask people questions when they're trying to go about their daily lives, but for some reason, Bonnie, he gets under my skin, and so he's the kind of guy who I just want to ask a question because I know it'll annoy him. Like, listen, you should not be talking to me because you are not in charge of anything, and I don't have to answer to you. See, he was, I don't know, he was head of the federal pipeline coordination. He was an aide or something down in the legislature who I had to interact with on education stuff or something. And anyway, just any number of different little crossroads that I've run across. So I have this Persily is personally persnickety. That's basically how I describe Larry Persily. And he does have a good few questions about the gas line. I mean, just to give you a basic one, he brings up one of the basic ones, and that is, hey, buddy, where are you going to get $45 billion? I think that's a good question. I don't think that's the only question because, and maybe it's the only question because if Walker can come up with $45 billion, and I honestly don't care where he comes up with the money, this is what makes me a little different than your average, everyday, normal, run-of-the-mill conservative. I realize that in Northern civilization, oftentimes government plays a way bigger role than we would like it to play. Just to clue you in, ConocoPhillips has a whole world of oil and gas to produce. They don't have to produce anything from here. We really need our oil and gas produced, or we'll all starve to death in the cold and the dark. And I'm not for that. I kind of like to stick around. So sometimes governments have to play a bigger role, and this may be one of the cases. I don't know. I mean, we were going to own 25% of the production facility and the line and the processing facility, the line, the liquefaction plant. We were going to own 25%. We were going to be 25% partner along with TransCanada, I think. Well, that's not zero. Hello. I mean, all you free marketers, this is government interaction, government ownership and control of the means of production. Yeah, it is. It's kind of the way things work. Northern socialist civilizations, of which we live in one. But my question is there anybody out there who will actually give Bill Walker $65 or $100 billion? I don't know how much it's going to be. I don't believe the $45 billion one. I don't think, and I hope, I'm praying that the environmentalists prove me wrong. I don't think the or more gas reserves. I don't think they want liquefied products, right? Gas liquids, natural gas liquid products. I don't think they want those. Those are fertilizers and plastics and all kinds of stuff like that. They don't want those on the market. So I think they're going to sue to stop this line. By the way, they come up with a new tree. Did you hear that? there's a new tree that might fall under the Endangered Species Act. Are we humans? Have I missed something? You know what happens when I want more of a certain kind of tree? I go plant them. Okay, I go plant them. I mean, why am I so crazy? If I was worried, what do we got? 6 million seals, a million or 2 million walrus.
Walrus.
And if we want more of them, if we want fields and fields of additional walrus, heck, we could. Well, we could get rid of some of the polar bears because they're trying to kill them off, but we could make more food for them up there if we really wanted to. I mean, heck, make a 500-foot platform out in the middle of the ocean and let the walrus sit out on it. You know what'll happen? They'll have a whole bunch more babies and they'll have a really good time. Human beings can overcome just about anything. And I really think we can overcome the, quote, extinction of this plant. Bonnie, if they can sue us about a tree,
maybe it's time that the plant just dies out. I mean, survive. Whatever happened to survival of the fittest?
Wait a minute. I'm going to use their logic against them.
Go
Bonnie
figure.
Cameron, stop that right now, or I will come over there. And don't think I won't. The Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KBNT, 569-1080, 357-5868. I thought Tom Anderson, I listened to part of his program this morning. I hope you listened to his program. Very engaging, riveting, as he said. And he gave a defense of the tax credit program for movies being shot in Alaska. And I have a disagreement. Bonnie and I had a discussion about this. Somebody's got to call me and tell me if we actually pay them money to film a movie up here. Because to me, that's crazy. If we give them tax credits so that we don't charge them anything or we don't get anything for them shooting the movie up here, that's brilliant. Who came up with that idea? And it actually allowed them to come up here. I'm totally for that. Love to hear from you. 569-1080-357-5868. Our sponsor for this hour of the Glen Biegel Show, Dr. Dan Kiley, the one person everyone needs in their life. Yes, it is. A conservative dentist. 562-9209. Go see Dr. Dan Kiley. He'll take care of your teeth. He'll take care of you. Your family will love you for it. I promise you that's true. 562-9209. Dr. Dan Kiley. 16 minutes after the hour of your drive. If you're headed out to the valley, if you're just driving home here in Anchorage, I hope you pick us up while you're in the office, while you get home, during dinner, some light dinner time conversation. That's kind of what we're about here. Nothing complicated, nothing real serious. I'll tell you about Brian Hoff, who is going to be doing my MC, the Master of Ceremonies, at my daughter's wedding. First of the Glen Biegel clan that's being married off. Very excited about it. And a little bit concerned that I do not know how to operate, all of the people that are there. Organize them, get them up to the mic, whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I just want to enjoy myself. I just want to enjoy myself. Where did that come from? We haven't talked about the mayor yet, have we? But Brian Hoff, he is actually going to be my... He's going to be my MC, Master of Ceremonies. If you're looking for somebody to make sure that your daughter's wedding or son's wedding turns out well, give him a call, 903-9979. And he's going to come on and describe the process he goes through to ensure that all the music is right, that you know exactly what's going to happen. We're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then we're going to do this. It's going to be something over here. And that's going to be a big help to me. You're listening to the Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KV. After Berkowitz is endorsed by the police union, and the fire union, Demboski links him to ex-mayor Begich. Oh, these are Begich's two biggest fans, the police union and the fire union. Anchorage's police union endorsed Ethan Berkowitz for mayor Monday, an announcement that prompted Berkowitz's opponent, Amy Demboski, to link him to former mayor Mark Begich, Jeff Bell, vice president. Why? They're not going to give you any more than that? That's it? That's like, and so the person walked off the cliff. Did it tell you how they walked off the cliff or what happened after they walked off the cliff?
When I read that, I wanted to say, and your point is?
Yeah, and why? Why would she link him to Mayor Begich? Can you give us a little bit of the, yeah. Okay, well, apparently they're not going to. Now they're going to go into what the other side says, even though they haven't let Amy make a point. Hello? Does anybody know these things? This is Devin Kelly again. His was the big bicycle dust-up. Jeff Bell, vice president of the Anchorage Police Department Public Employees Association, said at a Monday afternoon conference that the city needs a commitment to make the necessary investment in Anchorage Police Department to the level where citizens of Anchorage feel safe. I don't think you can pay police as much as you do. I said this, and it probably seems very strange, but I think once you pay someone around $150 or more $1,000, I don't think they're the police on the beat anymore. They live in places that a lot of crime doesn't happen in. I think most people probably start thinking of themselves in a different way. They're going to retire after 20 years. Their last 3 or 4 years, they'll probably get $200,000, $220,000, $250,000 in salary. I just think something happens, and it's not intentional. The people become policemen. These are our warriors. These are our saviors. These are people who want to defend us. But I just don't think you can pay them as much as we're paying them and have them go out onto the beat and solve regular crimes. Finding the tire slasher, because the tire slasher came about, I'll promise you, after dozens little teeny crimes. He shoplifted this, right? He painted this on an Amy Demboski sign. He scratched up somebody's car. Whatever it is. I mean, lots and lots of property crimes. Smashed in a window. That was one of the people who works here at the station. Had his window smashed in twice in his car. And he calls the police. The police laugh at him. He says, I've got property damage to my car. Are you going to dispatch a police officer? They laugh. They said, no, we're not. And it doesn't seem funny.
No, we had somebody back right into us as we were just sitting on the side of the road. And so Robert called the APD and they said, oh, we don't come out for that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He said, what?
Hello. How did the I guess it's up to the insurance company now to establish
Yeah,
Who
they
was
said,
at
well, you
fault?
can file a police report.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't come out for that anymore.
Huh.
I don't know if somebody's hurt. Do you come out for it then?
Yeah, that's a good question. The fire department will come out then if it's an injury accident. But I see a big change in really what it is the police do. And I can't explain that other than there are so few of them now. And we've increased the cost of police every single year. Every year, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15. Every single year. It's not like we're paying less for police, and they're increasing much faster than inflation, way faster than inflation. Inflation is really low. It's like 1.7%. I mean, it's almost nothing. So the cost of our police, which keeps driving the number of police that we can have down, plus, of course, their overtime. There's just something wrong. You get the sense of that. You think people become public servants so they can serve the public. And they really want to. I mean, this is their calling. This is what they were born to do. This is the movies that they saw, and they saw Superman, and they saw, all these different police shows, and that formed in them this desire, which they can't stop. They want to be a public servant, not a 50-year-old millionaire. Do you know that we're making 50-year-old millionaires? Why are we making 50-year-old millionaires who are policemen? Yes, we love them. No, we don't have to pay them that much. No, they will not police our streets as they have in the past if we pay them that much. This is my thought. I mean, I don't know. You tell me what your thought is. Maybe you just say, well, there's just not enough of them, and they can't go out and take a look at all these traffic accidents, or they can't go investigate vandalism. They can't go investigate property crimes. Everybody knows they're not going to investigate. Unless you got raped, they're not coming. Unless you got viciously assaulted, they're not going to be there. Unless there's a weapon that's involved, there's no police. This is the reality of the situation. We don't have that many fewer police. I got news for you. What do we have? 374. Something has changed. Something is different. Something has modified itself in the very DNA, in the very culture of the police department. I don't know what it is. If we had a brave officer who could call up and tell us, because I'd like to know exactly how their dispatch lists read now versus 5 or 6 years ago. The last year of Begic's being in office. Because I got a sneaking, evil, awful, horrible suspicion. And this doesn't have anything to do with regular police folks, but it does have to do with their union. And I actually know that it's true. The union stopped George Wirtz from hiring police that he requested be hired. And then, as soon as Begich got elected in 2003, right, he got elected and became mayor 2003, July 1. Somewhere around August, they had a full academy on behalf of Mayor Begich. It was huge. It was in the news. I know for a fact that George Wirtz said, whatever it takes, get me a full academy. They wouldn't. They didn't hold any for the previous year, and then they got 13 officers in the next one. As soon as Begich became mayor, the two union employees who run the police department academies, right? They sift through all the 800 or 1,000 or however many it is, applications to become a police officer. They sift through them, and they said, no, can't hold one. Just these two guys. Just these two guys. I know for a fact that it goes on. Do you want to know why we don't have enough police officers? Do you want to know why I don't think that they do it? What do you think? And what's on your mind? You know things have changed dramatically, but the number of officers hasn't. So what's wrong? What's different? What's changed? We've gotten rid of vice units. So we've gotten rid of traffic units. They won't respond to property crimes. I don't know. I mean, I'm not on the inside of the police force. So I have some evidence, right, from the Wirtz administration when I was involved in his campaign. But I don't know what's going on there now. I do know that the cost of our police has dramatically risen. So you tell me. 357-5868 And also 569-1080. You tell me, what is it that's changed about the police? Why is our enforcement of crime in the city of Anchorage so dramatically different? And maybe they're all involved in all these shootings because we have people showing up dead in Cuddy Park. This 14-year-old girl, 14 years old. Oh, I'm going to read you, if I can, if I have the strength to do it. I'll read you the story. Can you imagine letting your 14-year-old daughter just go out? I mean, who knows? Maybe this was the first time. You just don't know. This is tragedy. This story of the 14-year-old girl, her 15-year-old boyfriend who was there on the scene, and the 45-year-old rapist who got them to drink something. God only knows. Oh, I think we'll find out, though. They know that he raped the little 14-year-old. Terrible. I mean, it really is. We have to do something, folks. And the level of enforcement is not, I don't think that it's due directly only solely to the number of police officers. I don't believe that. I think something else is going on. I think there's a slowdown in crime watching by police, just like they did in New York City. Remember, de Blasio comes on and he starts trash talking the officers and calling them all kinds of names. And I mean, there was a total breakdown in discipline, a total breakdown in the force. And they basically just stopped. 75, 80% of arrests stopped the next day. A slowdown. Well, I'd like to know. I wonder whether or not there is a brave person out there, because I have been validated. It's funny, Bonnie, by the way, how often I get validated. It scares me a little bit. When we come back, we're going to talk about sorry turnout skews Anchorage election as moderates stay home. Did somebody talk about this? I'm trying to think who it was. It was me. This is exactly what I thought happened. I don't think Dan Coffey inspired confidence. People knew that he couldn't win. They did not want to put their efforts on the line for Dan Coffey. Now, the big question is, can Amy win them over? And I don't see her going out and figuring out that that's what her call is right here. She needs this coalition of people who went to the polls, along with people who didn't go to the polls. And she needs all those people to vote for her. It's going to be a tough election. If she can't get an extra 10, 12, 15,000 people to vote, 25% turnout. Dan Bonney has got a piece in this. More about the mayor's race. We'll also have budget talks in the gas line. Personally, levels the playing field with his arguments today. 28 minutes after the hour, Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN and KVNT. I'd love to hear from you. 569-1080, 357-5868. 25-hour Glen Biegel show here on KOAN and KVNT. I know I try to light fires. I'm not trying to light fires. I actually would like an explanation for why we don't have the law enforcement that we used to. I don't think it's just because we have fewer officers. You can make that case for me. Berkowitz wants to go from 374 officers up to 400. So 26 additional officers. You really think that, I don't know what that is, 6%, 7% increase in officers changes whether or not they actually come and respond to your property crime? I just don't think so. I mean, I honestly don't. I don't think so. I think there's something else, something deeper, something worse going on in the police department. Now, Berkowitz has received the endorsement of the fire and police departments. He said on this show that he wants police to be paid more. They're already paid $150,000 on average, pay and benefits per policeman. And he wants them to be paid more, and he wants more of them. I read that as an increase in the millions, tens of millions over time. I'm going to give you a few items at the top of the news after I tell you about Country Financial. If you are looking for some way to make sure you protect your auto, your home, your life, and your future, give Country Financial a call. 13 locations all across the state of Alaska. If you're looking for financial assistance in any of these areas, it's always best to sit across the table from somebody who does that for a living. And they can help make sure that your investments are appropriate and that your insurance is what you need to protect you and your family. 866-COUNTRY, countryfinancial.com, and country is spelled
COUNTRY.
Esther Cox is out, Bonnie.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. The chair of Alaska's Education Board has withdrawn from reappointment following attacks by conservative groups, Bonnie, saying she hoped to spare herself and Governor Bill Walker from a, quote, contentious confirmation hearing. Esther Cox, former Anchorage principal, who served on the board for 12 years, sent a letter informing Walker of her withdrawal that was distributed Tuesday to members of the House Education Committee. Listen to this. In her letter, she referred to comments, quote, disseminated, stop snickering over
Sorry.
there.
Keep going.
Disseminated by well-organized group of people who see no good in our new Alaska academic standards.
Those pesky peasants.
Oh.
I've spoken.
So, why? Well, and I agree. I mean, this has been a big subject on the show here for a while. We don't want the federal government to define our academic standards. It's just that simple.
It's not allowed to.
Yeah, it's not allowed to by their own laws, and it's not going to do any good. If we want higher standards, we could implement them ourselves, but the things that are in Goals 2000 or Communist Core, I didn't say communist, communist, because, right, what they're saying is we are all going to achieve a standard, and that's going to make us all better.
You must fit in a box.
How is that possible? How can a standard, even when I went to school, and I went to Service was a top 100 high school when I went there. Not necessarily because of me. I did do very well in studies. I graduated 5th, by the way, in my class.
Woohoo.
I was very proud of myself. No, I worked hard. I loved studying. It was something really, I don't know if that's strange or what, but
You must have been good at studying, because there is a certain, I don't know. My mom always told me I wasn't good at studying.
Oh, I see.
I don't know how to
distracted.
study.
Can you imagine how hard it would have been for you if you had a phone in front of you?
Oh, my word.
Oh, my gosh. I'll be right there. It's so nice to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, George.
Very distracting.
Oh, my gosh.
Mhm.
I can't even imagine trying to do math being distracted every 5 seconds.
I was already distracted by the send and receive. You remember the dial up and
Oh, wow. I didn't have internet at all. There was it was a twinkle in Al Gore's eye way back when. Well,
so this is good news. Esther Cox being gone. I mean, she didn't even know how much the Department of Education spends on children. She didn't know how many children were.
Yes,
I
yeah.
mean, this is not our fault. How dare she try to blame this on us, even though people did write in and the citizens spoke. But no, this was her fault. Take responsibility for it.
Well, there is an organized group of people who don't like federal intrusion into Alaska. And she is a complete signer on to federal intrusion, federal definition, federal dollars. 80% of the people who work for the Department of Education at the state level are actually employed by grants and money that we get from the federal government. Gee, let me think. I wonder who they serve. I guess Barack Obama. I guess education. Come on. Is it really that hard? I mean, can we not say that your boss, if they pay your salary, they're your boss, that's who you're going to implement. That's who you're going to implement the interest of. I think we can. I think that's pretty rational. And here's Extra Cox, 12 years on the Alaska Board of Education. You know how much money we pay for education. You know how badly it works out in the bush, particularly East Anchorage, North Anchorage. Well, it's not a pretty picture. We are the lowest scoring state in the union in several areas, just little things like 4th grade reading, 8th grade math.
You know what I love about this story the most?
Esther Cox, by the way, no longer going to try to be reappointed. So that's what Bonnie's talking about.
This is the people. The people did this. She's even blaming us, and I love it. And it shows that it works. Once you get involved, you write your legislators. She caved because of public pressure, and this is proof of it.
Well, and it's not just public pressure, but it is public awareness.
Absolutely.
Right? Because people didn't know about Communist Core, not communist. That's my word. I just made that up like a week ago. So I'm very proud of myself for that. I like to make up words. Expert questions Governor Walker's proposal for backup gas line project. This is a piece from Alex DeMarban, and it's very important because it starts the questioning of what we could be getting and what we could be giving up. I'm gonna give you my bottom line for the gas line. Here's my bottom line. You ready? It's not the bottom line of everybody else. I will admit that. If Bill Walker goes out and finds anyone on planet Earth who wants to invest between $65 billion and $100 billion in the gas line and can get them to write us a check, and I don't care who they are, and I almost don't care what kind of a deal he has to make. All I want to see is the check. If he could get the check, I'm on board. Whatever he had to do. Now, he can't. He's not going to take away the Point Thompson leases and all that kind of stuff. Somebody's got to produce that gas. It might as well be Exxon. I don't mind it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. We have gas resources. We're having difficulty figuring out whether it's going to be paid for. But there are danger zones for him. And that's what I want to lay out. They could just say, okay, well, you're on board. Governor Walker, go get a check. I promise you, I'm not kidding here. If Governor Walker comes up with a check for $65 billion to $100 billion, whatever it will cost to wade through all the lawsuits and the years and years of delays and all the other things that we're going to argue, $65 billion gets you into the game. Fine. Go get the check. If it comes from Mitsubishi, if it comes from the Gazprom, if it comes from, I don't care who it comes from. If we have to give away 98% of the profits from this line, fine, whatever. At least there'll be jobs here. At least we'll have offtake points to Alaska residents and have cheaper gas. Fine. If that's the best we can do, because I'm not sure this is going to be built at all. So whoever comes up with a check first, that's the best thing. What are the danger points? And this is my opinion. I look at this thing. This is the way I kind of put it together. So my first basic point is, if Governor Walker can come up with a check from Gazprom, who is a Russian-owned, government-owned gas utility or whatever, gas development, I don't even care if the Russians own all of the infrastructure here in the state of Alaska, because at least we'll get the jobs. Jobs is what we need. Hopefully, we would negotiate for at least the natural gas liquids, some offtake points. I know those are on the table. So we'll get some benefit from it, and we'll have the jobs here. Whoever owns it. Doesn't make any difference to me. I don't want our producers run out of the state. I don't think he can. I don't think they will be. I don't see that as part of the issue. Here's the danger, though, just to give you a preview of some comments, and I'll make a few more. The danger is right now, all of our producers are involved in a gas line project called engineering, right? The feed, pre-feed. If our governor is going to go somewhere else and get the project done by somebody else, why would our producers put their hundreds of millions of dollars into the state of Alaska if that's not going to benefit their company? It's going to benefit somebody else's. That's the danger. The danger here is, what if he can't go get a $65 billion check from Mitsubishi or Gazprom or whoever else is going to write us a check? What if there is no $65 billion largest construction project in the history of North America is not possible? Because there's no money out there for it. And the only thing that is possible is working with our producers. That's the real question I have. This competitive thing where he says, well, you guys put in 400 million, 500 million, and then I'll decide later whether I take your 400, $500 million in investment, which could have helped your companies, your shareholders, gone to your projects up on the North Slope and maybe even produced more oil. And I'll decide whether I'm going to take that from you and move it over to my investors. Whoa. Project killer. Project killer. So that's the real danger here for the governor. And I'll give you some of the comments from Larry Pursley, and he's got some personal and persnickety comments to be made. The mayor's race as well. I would love to hear from you. 569-1080. Justin Giles is coming up here. Oath Keeper. Stay tuned. Ten minutes before the hour. Guess what today is here on the Glen Biegel Show on KOAN and KVNT?
Trusses Tuesday.
All righty. Tell me about it.
Well, Paula and her team over at High Rollers on Old Seward Highway across from Lowe's are giving a $25 gift certificate to one lucky listener at the end of the program today, and they do nails, tanning, hair, makeup. So any of those services, they will have a $25 gift certificate.
All right, guys. So if you need your hair, your nails, your
or
toes,
your wife's.
Oh, okay.
Or your wife's thing, yes.
Probably for wives better. Probably.
Well, men too. I've seen men get their hair done over there.
Manis and petties. That absolutely freaks me out. I honestly can't. I can't.
Have you ever tried it?
Nope. Well, I don't like exposing my toes.
I thought you said you had nice feet.
I do.
No, that was teeth.
Oh, that's right. I did have nice feet. Well, actually, I've corrected some issues with my feet over the years, but no, I don't. Just something I wouldn't do. But Tressa's Tuesdays coming up here at the end of the program. High Rollers. They're going to give away a $25 gift certificate. Glen Biegel Show here on KOAN KVNT 569-1083-575868. So things are kind of firming up in some of the ideas that the Walker administration has, or Governor Walker has, that we haven't seen previously. And here some of them are. So this is Larry Pursley, who I will admit I never have really liked. And I'm not, it doesn't really matter whether you like somebody as to whether or not what they're saying makes sense. So here's the way that persnickety Larry Pursley puts it. It's going to be hard enough coming up with 25% of an LNG project. That was the current plan, the laws that they passed, the current legislature, and the past governor's plan, 25% ownership. He continues, much less 100% of the whole damn thing, said Pursley. Quote, I don't say that to trash the notion of, that doesn't sound like trashing the notion of state ownership, does it, Bonnie? Or to disparage the governor or others who believe the state should build and own it, but just to pose the question, how are you going to pay for it? I ask this. Would we be willing to put our entire permanent fund at risk in order to get the gas line done? I'm not saying that's even a bad idea. Maybe that is exactly what we should do. But at least we ought to be talking about it as adults, not acting like, that may not be on the table. It's only an option if you can write a check for it, if you can get financing for it. All right, so now financing. Finally, we are getting to the point where Walker is going to wander into the fray. And I'm talking here about an Alaska Dispatch news article by Alex DeMarban, expert. That happens to be Larry Pursley. Questions Governor Walker's proposal for a backup gas line project. And a lot of the companies smelling a rat. So they want him to explain how, they want him being Governor Walker to explain how it is that Alaska, if we control this project or we figure out how to finance it, how to build it, who we're going to give away the farm to, whoever gives this, the shorthand for this, if somebody gives us $65 billion, they are going to get the lion's share of the benefit from this. If the companies put $65 billion, build the largest construction project in the history of North America, they're going to get the lion's share of the benefit from it. If Korea Gas, if Mitsubishi, if these guys put $65 billion in, they're going to get the majority of the benefit to be had. Ooh, that's the real question. That's the real question. So let's get into some of this. For example, this is Walker, quote, for example, the state of Alaska might be willing to accept an 8% return on the gas treatment plant. That's a $15 billion facility. Pipeline and LNG plant instead of the 14% that might be required by the producers. Okay. Well, it does sound like he's going to go out and get the money directly and that we are going to build and operate this. But if we have KOGAS's money, they get the benefit. We don't get the benefit. Maybe we'll get some benefit. The difference could make the Alaska effort more economically viable in times of low gas prices. We're not at low gas prices here, by the way, folks. We haven't hit that yet. In Japan, still pretty high gas prices. In China, it's still $10 per 1,000 cubic feet. A lot of places around the Pacific Rim still paying in excess of $10 per 1,000 cubic feet. So we're not at low gas prices. So he says here that this could make us more competitive if we were willing to take an 8% return on the gas treatment plant. Legislative leaders shot back in their own letter to say a competing project is an imprudent use of state resources that would confuse potential buyers of the gas and deter possible investors. This gets into the danger that I was talking about. If we're working as a 25% investor in one line, but we're going to go out and get suitors for an alternative line, and the governor's already said that the biggest mistake that's ever been made in the history of the state of Alaska was, do you remember it? Was allowing the companies that produce oil to own the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. Now, if he believes that was the biggest error in the history of the state of Alaska, and he says that he's only going to allow one project to go forward, either the one where we're a 25% owner or this one where it sounds like he wants us to be 100%, or he wants KOGAS or Mitsubishi or whoever gives us $65 billion. So how does it all work out? Walker said under Alaska liquefied natural gas, that's the current structure, all parties must agree on several potentially contentious issues before the project can proceed, including fiscal terms on gas royalties, production taxes, and property taxes. If all parties, this is the Governor Walker, if all parties do not reach agreement, progress on the Alaska liquefied natural gas will stop as the remaining parties work months or years to restructure agreements and formulate a replacement project. Walker said $85 million would get the project to the FEED decision, known as front-end engineering and design. Asian companies such as Tokyo Gas, Korea Gas, and others have expressed an interest in not only buying gas, but investing in the project. And that's where we're going to have to get to. Oh, did we get to Justin? Oh, my gosh. When we come back, well, let's bring Justin on right now. We'll find out how far we can get through this. Justin.
Glenn.
How you doing? Hey, sorry about that. I got lost. Bonnie started talking about Trusses Tuesday and everything got confused. You work with Oath Keepers.
At the governor's office.
Well, tell me about Oath Keepers, and then when we come back, you'll tell us what they're up to right now, because it sounds like there are some contentious situations going on.
We got another flare-up. So Oath Keepers, for listeners that don't know, is an organization founded in 2009 by Stuart Rhodes, who was 82nd Airborne and enlisted paratrooper, broke his back in a jump, and then decided to go to Yale Law School and finished top of his class. It's made up currently of about in the vicinity of 50,000, both active and veteran military law enforcement and civilians who are willing to take the same oath of office. Our mission is sort of twofold. We've got a national billboard campaign that we run at any one time. We've got about 24 billboards up at critical locations. Most of these are right outside main gates to military bases. And they remind our troops that their oath is to the Constitution and not to individual political parties or politicians. And they're pretty aggressive billboards. You know, one of them, like, reminds the Marines, 40,000 Marines every day when they leave 29 Palms is just one example. That their oath of office requires them, encourages them to refuse orders to disarm Americans.
All right, good information so far. When we come back, we'll talk about the contentious issue, what's going on, and what you guys are doing about it. Justin Giles, Oath Keepers, stay tuned. 5 minutes after the hour, Glen Biegel here on KOAN and KVNT. It's your drive home. I hope you participate fully. That means you need to call. You need to tell me what is on your mind. Lots of stuff going on. The gas line, the mayor's race, the endorsements by the police and fire unions. The public employees have spoken, and they showed up to the polls and spoke there as well. Our sponsor, we're going to get back to Justin Giles, who's with Oath Keepers here in just a moment. But I need to tell you about Alaska's premier independent Subaru service center. 6 out of the last 12 years, the best shop in Anchorage. That is just amazing because there are hundreds of car shops in Anchorage. To be the best out of hundreds, 6 out of the last 12 years, I promise you, no one else has come even close to that. These guys are a one-of-a-kind place, and the only real problem with them is they only deal with one-of-a-kind cars. Those are Subarus. A&A the shop. If you know anybody with a Subaru, if you have a Subaru yourself, you have a home. A&A the shop, the best warranty in the business, ASE certified mechanics. Give them a call, 562-3919-696-2096, aAtheshop.com. And let me go back to the phones here. I would love to hear from you, first of all. Please give me a call, 569-1080, 357-5868. Justin Giles is on with us, and he's with Oath Keepers. You've explained a bit about the group, and it sounds like you guys get involved when basically there's nobody else to respond.
We do, and isn't this what America's veterans should be doing? You know, in recent history, it was Oath Keepers that went to Washington, D.C., and tore down the barricades that Obama had rented because the government was out of money to keep World War II veterans from seeing the memorial.
Wow.
Many of them in there. If you remember that incident,
I completely remember it. That's right. They actually spent money to go out and get barricades so that people who had, maybe spent years of income or all the time and effort to get down to the World War II memorial ran across these barricades rented by the evil Obama administration, if I may. In this case, for sure, you guys went down, tore those down, and that is an excellent example.
We stacked them on the sidewalk at the White House against the fence, left the Gadsden flag tied, and then left. So after that, of course, we got.
Now, did you go down there and do that yourself? Did you get a chance to participate, or do you do other things?
That one I did not. That was an organizational event that I did not attend. I did, however, become Chris Matthews' favorite poster boy during the Bundy Ranch standoff.
Oh.
There's a famous picture of me standing on a bridge guarding the Bundy's grandchildren on Patriots Day, April 19th.
How close do you think that those federal agents were on firing on people?
I think we're scared to death. I mean, people don't realize the scale of what happened down there. Just the keeper presence down there was about 120. Most of them were like myself, fit, young, and completely fed up U.S. Marine combat veterans. We had airborne, we had special forces, we had from the other branches as well. But in the end, that was actually a hearts and minds operation.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had a fair media to reveal these things to us, because they always come off, Justin, and this is just what the media wants. They always come off as this really extreme viewpoint or just something that very few Americans hold. But I don't think this was about a rancher whose cattle was grazing on something they claimed to be federal lands. And he basically had been grazing his cattle there for something like 85 years. And then the Endangered Species Act comes along, and then the EPA comes along, and they start making all these decisions about what this person can and can't do. They get to the point where these now armed EPA agents let's not pass that point. That is against the law that founded the BLM. Wow. It
was BLM, and
okay,
that's right in the law that created them, that they are to defer to local law enforcement. So they showed up with snipers and attack dogs, and neither of those things you just run down to the gun store and buy. So this shows a bureaucratic, a division-wide mentality and years of preparation. But continue, please.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to cover it because to me, this was, while I don't like the idea, if the federal government says this land is off limits, that's kind of up to them. But I don't like the idea of armed law enforcement going around and even having the thought that a civil violation should result in the death of somebody because they are extremists, because they're environmental extremists, and they say, well, I think there was a salamander or some stupid thing that they didn't want these cattle on.
And this was not even approached the reason that most of us went down there, including myself. The BLM had a court order from the court, catch the guy's cows, sell the guy's cows, and put the money against the fine. The BLM instead went out and started slaughtering the cows and burying them in mass graves. It was beyond their authority and beyond the order of the court. People were taking photographs of evidence. They were gathering evidence to take back to the court, and the BLM then took it upon themselves to create a free speech zone several miles from the location where they were destroying the evidence. People refused to.
Free speech zone. That is frightening. First of all, our free speech zone starts at one shore and goes all the way to the other shore. That's my view of it. Hey,
this is what happened. And when the people refused to stay in there, they brought the tasers and the tac dogs out.
Wow.
But after Bundy, the latest deployment for Oath Keepers was down to Ferguson, where we sent 2 of our 13 community preparation teams down and offered free security for the poor business owners that were not being protected by the
very
police during the
successful.
rioting.
Those businesses, nobody experienced any attacks. Nobody experienced anything burned down. So that was a very successful one. Is that the one you're doing now, or is there something about a mine?
We got something new going on down in Oregon, Josephine County, at the Sugar Pine Mine, one of the oldest gold mines in the country. It's been in operation since about 1850. We had a very Alaska-like federal land grab that took place at some point in the past. And now it's even gone beyond a federal, the Fed saying, oh, that's ours, and no, you can't. It's that's ours, and you have to stop thing. So Oath Keepers is deployed there. We've got a growing contingent there to keep the BLM, to protect the Fourth Amendment rights of these mine owners. Luckily, in this instance, it looks like the sheriff is getting involved. But at the same point, it's another armed standoff between BLM and Oath Keepers.
Well, I wish you well in it, and I'm hoping that you'll give us updates here and there when anything breaks on it, okay?
Okay.
Justin Giles, Oath Keepers, thanks so much. Another action needed. 12 minutes after the hour. This is the Glen Biegel Show on KOAN and KVNT. I just love it when our retired military personnel take good actions into their own hands. Makes me feel very comfortable being an American. Stay tuned. 13 minutes after the hour. 16 minutes after the hour, this is your drive home. The Glen Biegel Show on KOAN and KVNT. I would love to hear from you and give us your thoughts on anything that's going on in the news today. Let me tell you about Payless Car Sales. Ollie and his team down there, JC, Russell, the whole team of sales folks and car mechanics. This is one of the only places, I think it's the only place in town that sells used cars and has their own shop. So you can guess why it is that they have the highest rating online. And that's by far. I mean, it's almost 5 stars. Almost every single person who goes through the door gives them a 5-star rating. You know how hard they work at that? Every single day, every transaction, it's part of what they do. There's no way to just stumble into a 5-star rating. You have to serve people, and that's really what Payless Car Sales does. 677 Auto, 919 East 5th Avenue. Listeners to the program and great friends, and I really do believe in the way they do business. Love to hear from you. 569-1083, 5768. Do you think that Governor Walker will get somebody to write him a $65 to $100 billion check and just say, you know what, pay me back when you have the cash? I'm not worried about it. I know you're good for it. Just pay me back when you got the cash. It's no big deal. Here's $100 billion. Do you need more? Honestly, it's no big deal. No, I'm not even saying that couldn't happen. You know, it may be worth it to Korea Gas or Mitsubishi or all these other places to actually own a gas line. They'll own the gas line. We'll operate the gas line. And we will have to negotiate with the oil companies in order to buy the gas, because the gas has to be purchased at a profit, a reasonable profit for whatever the infrastructure is on the leases that they own up on the North Slope. So the oil companies are not going to lose money in this. They're not going to lose their leases, and they're not going to lose money. They will negotiate a price for that gas that keeps them in business. But is somebody going to write us a $65 to $100 billion check? Are we really going to have the state of Alaska operate a processing plant, a full-blown 800-mile pipeline, and a liquefaction plant, and all of the offshoot pipelines that are going to come from this? Well, it's the largest construction project in North American history. So it seems like a pretty big deal to me. This seems like, although maybe the Big Dig is like a 5 or 6 mile long construction project in Massachusetts, I think Boston, that started, it just ran into problem after problem after problem. What do you think? Is this possible for Governor Walker to come up with? And maybe you think that it is. Maybe we should step away from our 25% ownership. Seems like something, it's still going to be really difficult to figure out where that money's going to come from, but at least we kind of know where the rest of the money's going to come from. Is this a dead project? And I've been reading Brad Keithley's reviews of this. I don't really think, what's your take on it, Bonnie? Do you think that he believes that this is a sure thing, that it's a possible thing, or that there's no project here?
I don't know. He's sounding a little down, negative, maybe,
because of the downturn in oil prices.
Yeah.
That also has downward pressure on gas prices. And whereas at $109 a barrel, that could have floated the gas price, because that's kind of when I sort of thought he was always reticent about it before, but that's just because he doesn't really trust government.
He's just not holding his breath at this point.
Yeah. Well, and that's the kind of sense that I get from Walker too, that he doesn't believe that the oil companies are necessarily behind this project. So he's thinking he can go out and get somebody, Korea Gas or Mitsubishi or Gazprom, I don't know, whoever it is. You know, maybe there's some Chinese companies. Maybe the Chinese will own the Alaska pipeline. Why not? What the heck? I wouldn't mind being a Chinese worker. Although the Apple conditions seem really bad over there. Don't they?
I think morale is down.
Yeah, morale is seriously down. A couple of other pieces here at the top of the news. Love to hear from you. 569-1083-57. 5868. Still got the mayor's race to cover. Ending speculation that a move might be in the offing. Great news, folks. Here it is. The U.S. Air Force said Tuesday it will keep a squadron of F-16 fighters at Alaska's Eielson Air Force Base in Fairbanks. That, to me, speaks F-35s, by the way. If they're going to keep the F-16s up there, that means that base is going to stay hot. if they were going to not give the F-35s, they would have taken the F-16s away as well, and that would have gone on to be a cool base where they could ramp it up. They could station people there, but it's not, in non-wartime, not going to be a hot base. So that, to me, is great news. Great news for the Fairbanks area, by the way, great news for Alaska. The Alaska congressional delegation praised the decision, with Representative Don Young calling it an example of logic prevailing, which is becoming exceptionally rare in the federal government. How about that? Say thank you right across the face. Yeah, I think that's right. Logic is prevailing. What a great place to have your forces right here up against the Russian bear that's getting more and more and more and more aggressive all the time with our allies. NATO's getting a little bit worried. Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan. I saw Dan on Sunday, by the way. I talked to him. He came to church, listened to me sing.
Aww.
In the choir. Yeah.
He's so friendly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was he and his wife and his daughter, and they were all there, and we just chatted for a few minutes. And I don't know. I can understand why people got this sense from Senator Stevens, that they were just in the presence of somebody who is, a great person. And you don't want to live that way because you never know, and it could fool you. And so, but I always really, really enjoy talking to him just as a person. Anyway, where was I? Oh, we're talking about here, Senators Lisa Murkowski, Dan Sullivan said the actions of Russia, North Korea, and other nations, and the pending move of the F-35 squadrons to Eielson. Ooh, so that's already done deal too? I think they said that it's the top on the list. The F-35s at Eielson, that's their top pick. All tend to reinforce the need for this decision about the 18th Aggressor Squadron. So, great news for the state of Alaska. We will hopefully not see continued decrease, because Fairbanks has actually been decreasing in population, I think, for a little over 10 years, something like that. Not a whole lot, but a little. They've been trickling out. Alaska House advances marijuana control board bill. Now, the most interesting part of this, by the way, was this. The bill passed 25-15. House Majority Leader Sharice Millett asked for reconsideration after voting in favor of it. That means the House could vote on it again before it goes to the Senate. Listen to this amendment. Representative Bob Lynn, Republican from Anchorage, introduced an amendment that he unsuccessfully proposed during the committee process. Listen to what it did. And I have no idea who voted for or against this. I don't know if you know how to look this kind of stuff up on it. You probably do because you are engaged in this. But this amendment would have prevented the new Marijuana Control Board from giving a marijuana business license to someone who had been convicted of a felony within 5 years, or of a controlled substance-related misdemeanor within 3 years. In other words, if you had possession of cocaine, which is probably a controlled substance misdemeanor, within 3 years you couldn't get a marijuana license, a license to operate a marijuana shop. And if you had been convicted of a felony, not asserted that you had a felony, but actually convicted of a felony, within 5 years, you couldn't get it. Listen to this. The amendment failed 14-26. Are they running scared? Tell me, are they running scared? I want to know from you. Is the legislature running scared of the marijuana folks? Because this seems like pretty reasonable restrictions. You don't want people with felonies operating a drug business. Can we call marijuana a drug anymore? I mean, it'll be a legal drug, but it's still a drug. Or is that passé as well? I mean, we have to change all of our language having to do with marijuana. So you don't want a previous drug dealer or drug user, I guess, if it's a misdemeanor, controlled substance, or if it's a felony of any kind, could be assault or burglary or, who knows, rape, whatever, within 5 years. And that failed 14-26. I'm just totally guessing here that the 14 were Republicans and that the 26 were all the Democrats and several of the Republicans. But I don't know. I'm interested to know. And of course, this Alaska Dispatch News article by Molly Dishner does not cover that. Don't you think that would be important information to give us? Here is a heartbreaker. And this one's tough, by Megan Edge in Alaska Dispatch News. So a 14-year-old girl found dead on that church with the steeple, the red church with the white steeple on Muldoon. Did you find out? I want you to break in if you find out who voted for or against that. So a 45-year-old guy was on the scene. 14-year-old girl was there as well. She's dead. 15-year-old boyfriend also on the scene. So the little girl's name was Megan. She's found dead Sunday afternoon, parking lot. Folks, this is just sad. 45-year-old raped her. However he did it. Alcohol involved. I bet that 15-year-old was out too. Man, oh man. No death penalty, really? No death penalty, really? I mean, a guy rapes a little girl. She's dead. Incapacitates her 15-year-old boyfriend. Really? You want to rehabilitate him? Don't you think that would be educational to other people, other murderers and rapists and killers and whatevers? That this is not a state that you want to fool around with? Don't you think that would save other people's lives? He'd still have 10 years in the penitential system to get his heart right with God, right? To get his soul all fixed up. He didn't give this girl that opportunity. Wow. A man at the scene where the teen's body was found charged with sexual abuse of a minor. It's tough. Some days it is really not easy to do a radio program. You lose a little bit of your trust, of your belief that humanity is savable. Because boy, this guy is a piece of trash. Man, 28 minutes after the hour. Glen Biegel Show, KOAN, KVNT. Love to hear from you. 357-5868, 569-1080. Show continues. Stay tuned. Mama. Poker face. Woo! It's Tuesday. It is your drive home, and it's the Glen Biegel Show. And Tuesday means, what does it mean, Bonnie?
Tresses Tuesday.
Tresses Tuesday.
$25.
And that's not a name of a person, by the way.
No, tresses.
It
like
sounds
your
like
hair.
Teresa. Teresa. Like, then that's probably short for Teresa.
That could be.
All right. Tresses Tuesday.
Anyway, High Rollers, Paula and her team over at High Rollers are going to give a $25 gift certificate for services such as nails, tanning, hair, makeup. Choose your service.
All right.
And they're located over across from Lowe's on Old Seward Highway.
All right. We're giving that away. When are we doing that? At the break or at the end of the show?
Yeah, maybe at the end of this segment.
Okay. That sounds good. 569-1080, 357-5868. Some news items here from the top of Drudge. Google patents the ability to control robot armies. That sounds nice. It's almost impossible to even understand what that means, but it still freaks me out. You know who it's freaked out? Google has actually officially freaked out the European Union. So they're suing them for $6 billion and forcing them to change their business practices because their Google search engine is everywhere. You can't escape it. Every place you go, even if you load up Drudge, here's the question for you. How do you think that your Drudge Report top ad knows that you were just looking up HP toner cartridges 2 minutes earlier and their one shows up on the top of the Drudge Report? You weren't on Drudge when you did it. You were on Amazon or you were on some other place. And all of a sudden there, right at the top of Drudge, it's called an ad tracker. And all these things are tied into Google and they're all tied into everything. It's just really frightening. I don't think we have a whole lot of privacy left when we're online. How about this? Humanoid helps customers at a bank. It analyzes facial expressions. I would like to go in there and give it a couple of facial expressions just to see, I'm sorry, sir, the bathroom is that way. I don't know. I mean, you try to just freak it out, see whether or not it could. Would you like a lollipop? Are you feeling okay? Analyzes facial expressions, speaks 19 languages. Hillary Clinton and Rubio actually announced here too. You're not a big believer. I don't know.
Not a Rubio fan.
I don't know how it's all going to turn out. I look forward to all these people arguing it out. I do know this. The left is unified in whatever it is that they believe. Berkowitz, Begich, all these guys. They're 100% in agreement about everything. It doesn't matter what face you put on them, what gender you put on them. It doesn't matter how old they are. If they're on the left, they all agree on everything. But on the conservative side, there's a lot of chop going on. And I'm not sure. They've let 25 million people across the borders now. New York City's going to let them vote. You tell me the Catholic Church is arguing that we need to open the borders all the way. Things are changing, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what can win. I literally don't know what can win anymore. If Hillary is doing this well, Cruz tops Paul, by the way. And I don't think they asked about Rubio, which I thought was good. I thought that was good news for Ted Cruz. A few months ago, I loved it. And he spoke for about 40 minutes, no notes, very comfortable, very, smooth, passionate, knew what he wanted to say, knows what kind of country he thinks will be able to lead the world back out of darkness. I don't think that makes libertarians happy, by the way. I don't think they care whether or not the world's in darkness, and they certainly don't want America to be leading anybody out of anything. You know what it requires? It requires one thing of the United States in order to be able to lead the world out of darkness. We have to pay our bills, not with the next generation's credit card. We have to pay our bills with our own money and live in the real world. And that is something that most people don't want to do. I guess most people, the only way I can take it, Bonnie, is this. I don't think people want to take care of their parents anymore. But I think that started by parents not wanting to be taken care of by their children. So they became wealthy. Their houses escalated dramatically in value. The stock market went up 300% in the 90s. So they got wealthy in large measure. And they said, I don't want to have, I don't want to have to ask you, my son or daughter, whether or not I can get a car, or whether or not I can go to this or that store. I'm not interested in that. I want to go live in a community where I'm in charge of my own stuff. I'm going to take all my wealth with me, and you're not, whatever's left over will be left over for you. But frankly, tough luck. See you later.
That's my parents to a T.
Adios. And well, look, who wants to submit to their own children? I mean, you raised these kids. Somebody said it. They said, anybody whose diaper you've changed, you're just not really going to get a lot out of their advice.
Dave Ramsey.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. That is a perfect explanation of what happened. So we've made our parents very wealthy. My generation is the first generation of Americans in American history poorer than my parents. By some, by a lot, hard to say. The next generation going to be poorer than me. Higher tax burdens, lower paychecks, come out of school with a whole lot more debt. Their insurance is more expensive. All the things which weigh you down. The cars are more expensive compared to how much you get paid. Everything is working against the next generations. And so, we've made our parents wealthy enough so they don't really need us. They don't want us. That's a big change. And I'm not sure whether or not that's the way America wants to live. I want my parents with me when they need me. And I know that's going to be a big sacrifice because I got a big household already. So it's going to take some changes, and it's going to take a lot of prayer, and it's going to take a lot of hope, and it's going to take a lot of sacrifice. But that's the way I want it to work out. That's what I believe. Do the rest of Americans believe that? I don't know. It freaks me out that Hillary is the odds-on favorite. She does nothing for me. She freaks me out. I don't like her voice. I don't like her face. I know that she's a total leftist, but I guess America's basically just gone left. I don't know.
I don't think they'll be happy with her. I think they'll find someone else.
Okay, you think that they're going to drop her. This is because she's a woman. Come on, be honest.
No,
Partially?
I don't. But I mean, if she does stay in, they have to their
They'll
advantage.
change her gender?
Well,
that would be interesting. Okay,
No.
that's it. Bonnie has come up with the perfect scenario.
No, I
we
think
are
they
going
love
with
it.
Hillary, but we have to change her gender. She's actually going to become a transgender.
No, because think about it. They've got all these horrible, mean Republican men,
Yes.
and they're not going to be allowed to say anything bad against a woman. So that's why they need another woman in there.
You think Carly Fiorina
I
could
like
be?
her.
Okay.
Yes, I think she should be a running mate.
Okay.
And yeah, I would definitely support her. I really like what she has to say.
Well, look, she's run multi-billion-dollar businesses. She's very, very talented. She's extremely bright. So whether she was top of the ticket or next from the top of the ticket. And I realize, by the way, that I come to a lot of the conclusions here not with the same conservative credentials that everybody else holds or conservative requirements.
Are you talking to me?
No, just anybody. Because a lot of people say, well, Carly Fiorina is not pro-life enough. And here's what I'd say to you. All I care about is Roe. I want it back to the states.
Mm-hmm.
That's my minimum requirement. No, if somebody wants to publicly pay for federal abortions, obviously you can't support them, regardless of whatever their other positions are. But if they're against Roe, if they say, okay, yeah, Roe was unconstitutional, even Rudy Giuliani, he said he disagreed with Roe, and he's not pro-life at all. That's my minimum requirement, right? That's what the president needs to do. Give us judges which say, this goes back to the states. You states, you work it out. You figure it out. This is not a federal issue. It never was a federal issue until 1969 and then 1973. All right. I don't know how we got off on that. Oh, we're talking about Hillary. There's a problem with Hillary. The adage is credited to diverse authors. And this comes from Powerline blog. He does want to quote it. Here it is. Sincerity. If you can fake it, you've got it made. Uh-oh. This is a problem for Hillary Clinton. Madam Hillary can do a lot of things. This is from Scott Johnson, Powerline blog. Among the things she can't do, however, is fake sincerity. She oozes inauthenticity. She strives mightily to impersonate a normal human being. Yet it's obvious that she's faking. She may as well be phoning it in from a set of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think that's her real difficult here. She is so rich. I guess she and Bill now have made $100 million. Seriously? From Goldman Sachs? So all the people who are totally against, they're the 99%. We got to get, we're the 99%. We're the 90. You're going to elect somebody who created the 1%, created them. She was responsible for it. The boom, the crazy boom that went on from manipulating the markets in the 90s or whatever it is that happened. I don't know. Manipulating the markets probably a little over the top there. Anyway, there's something about Hillary. I agree. Is she going to be the nominee? When we come back, I want to tell you about somebody who is going to create a $70,000 a year minimum wage for their own company. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm interested to see how it turns out. I love people trying new things. 13 minutes before the hour. Glen Biegel Show, KOAN, KBNT. Mayor's Race 2 coming up still. Stay tuned. Because I'm going to make this place your home. Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no. Ten minutes before the hour. Oh, we're going to do high rollers. When do we want to do it? You want to do it now? You want to do it? All right, let's do it now. High rollers, they're across from on the Old Sword, across from Lowe's. And a $25 gift certificate if you need your hair done, your nails done, tanning, waxing, I don't know, all kinds of things that they can do for you. But give us a call, 569-1080, 569-1080. Your wife, your girlfriend, you, if you're female, you will love yourself if you win. 569-1080, 357-5868. Yes, people from the Valley can call too. Absolutely. We all know that we all crisscross each other's lines regularly. 569-1080, 357-5868. So Tom Anderson on this morning, and he had several segments talking about the film subsidy. And I had heard, so this is what I had heard. Alaska Senate voted 14-6 Monday to end a tax credit program that has paid out tens of millions of dollars aimed at attracting the film and television industries. Now, it makes sense when you're flush with cash that you can just chuck cash, out, burn it, put it in the. But this was basically trying to entice people to come up here until maybe we had a self-sustaining film industry. I don't think they were going to come up to Alaska because it's probably really hard to actually film up here. You never know what kind of weather you're going to get. Not every place lends itself to filming and so on and so forth. And so we actually had paid out tens of millions of dollars, Bonnie. That is now clear here from this, and which is what I had thought had happened. If we weren't going to pay anything, but we weren't going to get any tax benefit from it, we were basically going to say, you come make your movie in Alaska, and that's fine. You don't owe us any taxes. It's perfectly fine. Maybe we'll even give you some support. We got a deal for cheap Uber taxi service. I don't know. we'll roll out the red carpet for you. But tens of millions of dollars, we're going to pay tens of millions of dollars. And I'm not saying we as in the state government, but you and me are going to pay tens of millions of dollars this one was to Willem Dafoe, Drew Barrymore's Big Miracle, got a bunch of money. Frozen Ground, Nicolas Cage, Vanessa Hudgens. And guess what? There is a casualty of this. Hunter Killer, the first casualty. Hunter Killer, which recently announced Willem Dafoe as one of its leads, was to have been the biggest production ever filmed in Alaska, following on the heels of Drew Barrymore's Big Miracle. Johnny Ellis, Democrat Anchorage, said has been the film program's chief proponent and fought its repeal Monday. He said Hunter Killer is no longer going to be filmed in Whittier and would have spent more than $50 million in Alaska. Bonnie, do you believe that? Do you believe it? He's saying that Hunter Killer would have spent $50 million in Alaska.
I mean, it's possible.
No, it's not.
The hotels, the
no
food.
Way. No
I don't know,
way.
50 million seems like a lot.
50 million? Okay.
They would have been paying the actors to pay to act here in Alaska.
Johnny Ellis, paging Johnny Ellis. You may have lost your mind. I don't mean to be mean here, but a $50 million film doesn't get spent in the place that you photograph it. Okay? That's not the way this works. If you have a $50 million film, which I believe is what the total budget for the film is, that includes everything. Most of the money is spent where? Regardless of where you film it, it's spent down in Hollywood because they have to have all the cut-ins. They have to piece it all together. They have to have the voiceovers and all of the songs written, and everything has to be done down there. I mean, you look at the end of the program, how many of those people do you think are in Alaska? How many of them do you think are getting paid real money who actually stay here? 50 million? Maybe if it was, I don't know, $150 million film. Not even then. Not even then. I would love to hear. I think Johnny Ellis may be incorrect here. And I hesitate to call into question whether or not he's right on this, but I don't think so. Maybe we would have got $5 million out of it. Maybe $5 million. People are paid like $500 a day to be a stand-in. Let me go to the phones here. 569-1080. Karen, how are you? Welcome. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. I just tuned in, so sorry if I missed it, but I am excited to see Esther Cox withdrawing her reappointment.
How about that?
That
The
is
people
exciting.
spoke. She made horrible decisions. Common Core is a remainder of her time in office. We have one of the worst education systems in the country. Well, gee, it doesn't break my heart that she's not there anymore.
Well, my thanks go out to everyone, starting with Laura Reinbold, Nathan McPherson, and other activists that have, and Barbara Haney, of course, who is educating all of us on
Bonnie
the Common
Cameron.
Core issue. Barbara Haney, and yes, and Bonnie, and
Yay.
everybody that's called and written and did their part. Now let's all work together and get rid of Mike Handley at the very top and nominate Barbara Haney for that position. So it does matter when you call and write and pay attention to what's going in Juneau. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that helped. This is a huge accomplishment.
It is. You know, the wheels of the government turn very, very slowly, and they take a lot of shoulders in order to make them move. And this was a big effort by conservatives to voice enough displeasure at Common Core to tie it to Esther Cox, and then she made a fool of herself, of course, in front of everybody, which didn't help her. But I'm glad to see that maybe we're going to get some new blood. We'll see who this governor really does want to lead our education board.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it is a state's issue. And so us conservatives that stood up and said, no, we are tired of the federal government overreaching and for DEED to sell our students privacy to the federal government for $4 million. That goes against both the U.S. Constitution and the Alaska State Constitution. So good on every conservative that did their part. I'm so excited. I just got home and saw that and had to call in.
All right. I appreciate Karen.
Okay,
and
thank
it is
you.
great news, by the way. This is one thing, and I think that you guys have already had a big effect, and I have had a big effect, all of us conservatives working together on Common Core, in that Hanley actually took an assistant attorney general down to whoever had got that $4 million grant, and they stopped that grant on site at that moment when he found out what it was that they were doing. That was brought about by activists, by people looking at the situation and calling their representatives and calling in and making a difference. So don't think that conservatives acting, especially on things which are not very popular. You know, Common Core is not going to work. It's not very popular. It's a continued example of big government thinking that they know all the answers for everybody rather than your local teacher. That's the person who really you want to work with, who has the best ideas for how to teach your kids. We didn't get a whole lot to the mayor's race, but we'll have to put that off for tomorrow. And Channel 11 has a piece on bicycle safety as one of the distinctions between the Anchorage mayoral candidates. Oh, I will crush that out of the park. And it'll have to wait till tomorrow. Right now, Tressa's Tuesday. You got to give us a call. And they do all kinds of stuff. Oh, did Alicia already won? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm way behind the times. Alicia, congratulations. You win the $25 gift certificate to High Rollers. You've been listening to the Glen Biegel Show. Make sure to tune in tomorrow morning to Tom Anderson. He's going to be on 6 to 9 a.m. What a fun show. What a great show. God bless, folks. Have a great Tuesday.